Hello and welcome to the We Are Birmingham podcast. I'm Chris Golding.
I'm Matthew Elliott.
And as ever, we're joined by the vegan. Good afternoon, Dave. How are we doing?
Good afternoon. Very much afternoon, isn't it?
It is an early one again. Trying to squeeze this podcast in just where we can with the midweek, late night games and weekend games coming up and work and life and birthday parties.
Children's birthdays.
Pete Doherty and...
Unsurprisingly, none of us wanted to record it at about midnight last night. So
No.
I was still awake last night. I was building a Barbie dream house last night, still at 12:30. So I eventually had that done by about 1 a.m. So I could have done it, but.
And that wasn't even a birthday present. That was just
that was
yours.
That was just for me, for my office.
Just
when I
have
get
apple
bored.
and wines in Northern Ireland.
Just to play with his Funko Pop.
I definitely was not unwinding building that. I was getting.
How big was it? What scale? 1-to-1?
It felt like it. It's really high off the ground. So it's about 3 foot, 4 foot tall, and about the same wide. Loads of lure.
In a percentage term, how many of your family will be able to fit inside of it?
Maybe. Are we including the miniature dash hound? Because he could definitely go down the Barbie slide that comes from the top floor of the dream house. So maybe just the dog, to be fair, or the gerbils.
You bought a dog house, then, basically. What you're saying. You bought a pink dog house.
Dog house. Look, my 8-year-old, my new and improved 8-year-old is enjoying it. So that's all that matters. But. Yeah, it's a ball ache to leaving it to the very last minute, but of course it's so big that you can't hide it anywhere. So I literally had to do it when she was in bed.
That's hard.
It's so big. It's so big you can't hide it anywhere.
Yeah.
That's our teaser clip there.
Yeah. It's not something I have experience in, to be fair. So it's new to me.
I've never had that said to me before.
My dash hound loves it.
Right, let's bring it back.
Shall we just we're all in a bit of a rush. We've got lots of stuff to do. Shall we just get onto the football?
Yeah,
I think we should.
Why not?
I think we need to. 2 games to dissect. One of them. So let's look at Leyton Orient first. For me personally, I was a bit surprised at what I saw from Blues. I was expecting us to be a little bit more dominant than we were. I think we struggled a little bit. I think they probably pressed better than we were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And that meant that it wasn't as free-flowing from us. All 3 goals in the game from mistakes, which sort of, if you look at our season so far, scoring goals so far hasn't been easy for us. And that's something that we can come on to against Fulham as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's, it was. I think we both said last week that we were maybe expecting something a bit different from Leyton Orient than what we actually got. Yeah,
they were far more aggressive from the front line than I was expecting. Maybe even the first few minutes, we didn't really impose ourselves on the game at all. I think we said, we thought they would be like a prototypical League One side. Well, I hope not, because otherwise we might struggle throughout the season.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought they were the better team. I thought they were very, very unlucky not to come away with something. Also very thankful for Alfie May and Keshi Anderson, but it was a strange one, because I expected us to be better, to play so much better than that, and it was probably. I know we came away with a win. If we play like that and still come away with a win, that's great. But I think that was probably so far. I know there's only a small sample size. I think that's probably our weakest performance of the season so far, and I include Reading in that as well. And even yesterday when we played really well and actually lost, but it's a little bit concerning, but also at the same time, it's still very, very early doors, and we still clearly haven't clicked, especially in the final third.
I think let me look at the positives first. So I thought Keshi Anderson, his finish was very tidy. I think the fact that it was that high press that resulted in a goal for us was was nice, pressuring mistakes. That's obviously very rewarding for Davis because it's something that they're basing this style upon, and finished off by Anderson something probably no less than he deserves so far this season, because we've said in the last couple of weeks that he hasn't quite got the end product there, but his overall game has been very good. The fact that his fitness is there, he's very good. Another positive, like you say, Alfie May, another one on the score sheet. And I think there were signs during the game where it was just starting to... signs that when we settle down a little bit, that things are beginning to click. That there were moments that we started to look comfortable, and more so with Fulham last night as well, that you can see like they looked incredibly comfortable. I know that we're going to move on to Fulham, but there are moments of nervousness, I think, throughout the team, of the understanding between the different players and knowing who's going to be where, who to pass to, how each other play, and more so at the top end of the pitch. But I think there's that understanding that is building, and there have been signs of it in games. Granted, it wasn't a very good performance at Orient, but they still had lots of possession. We still had...
It was about 60% or 61%, was it?
Yeah, we still had opportunities in the final third. It was just not... I don't know what to say. Not dominant, was it? It didn't feel... We haven't seen one of those performances yet where we've absolutely controlled the game and killed it off.
If we just get, I think it sounds ridiculous to say this, but I think Chris Davies probably wants to see us have about another at least 10 or 15% possession on top of what we had there, and we are creating chances, but it's almost half chances or 3/4 chances maybe sometimes. So there's not a lot of clinical chances being made. And I think like there's a lot of... I was talking to people on Twitter about it earlier today, actually. I think there's a lot of reliance on us going down the right hand side with Laird all the time, and you know he's moving us up the pitch, and he's a very, very good outlet. We're getting into really, really good positions, but then we get into that final third and you know the move kind of breaks down. And there's a lot of people saying, pointing a finger at Laird and saying he's not good enough and we need to try Samsted in there. But Samsted is not really, from what I've seen of him, he's not really that type of right back. But we need more of a presence down the left hand side. I know I've said it before, and it created a bit of the bloke from Northern Ireland thing. But whilst Emil Hansen is very tidy, I'm not seeing very much in terms of just impetus and wanting to go at players and get a lot of creativity there. And I just feel like we maybe need a little bit more, because otherwise you're asking Cochrane to do, and Cochrane was in the past couple of games looked like he's getting forward a little bit more now, which is good, because I think based on what we understand of how he gets forward from what their Hearts journalist said, you know, he's quite effective in the final third. I think he's been brilliant, by the way, as well. I need to see more down that left hand side, take a little bit of pressure off of Laird. Centre midfield for me looks like they're really starting to gel. Peck and Leonard seem to be,
especially after the Fulham game as well.
Last night was like Leonard was just like I think that was probably his best game for us, and he just looked like he was. I've said it before, but he reminds me so much of Barry Ferguson as well.
I think so. Let's move on then to Fulham. That's probably a natural transition point there to change into the other game. But so Leonard, on the Leonard point, I've seen a few times that people have mentioned the Barry Ferguson comparison. I actually think he's got more to his game than Barry Ferguson has. Barry Ferguson was very tidy. He joined things together. Do you remember the Ryan Woods comparison to a metronome?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That they used in the announcement thing? I think that was more of a Barry Ferguson role. I think that Leonard's got that better range of passing. and he can offer a bit more. So that those through balls,
Yeah,
those key passes, the slide passes, he's got that to his game as well.
I do agree. I think actually, for the older listener, there's a little bit of you guys will probably remember as well. There's probably a bit of Mark Ward about him, who can spray the ball out wide, switch play, etc. Very busy as well. So there's probably elements of two very, very good midfielders. So you're being compared to them, you obviously must be pretty decent. But I think he's going to be huge for us going forward, because I think he's someone that he's exactly the type of player that we were talking about growing with the club, coming from League One into Championship and then hopefully beyond. He's going to be one of those players that just hopefully sticks with us for that amount of time. You can see him growing with us.
Yeah.
Just to go, I know we said we'd jump into Fulham game, but the Leyton Orient thing, just obviously the goal that we conceded came from essentially a second phase of a goalkeeping error, sort of. Wasn't it refreshing? I'm hoping you guys have seen it now, that Chris Davies was just thumbs up, don't worry about it, it's fine, this will happen. I want you to play out from the back. We can accept it. Just keep going.
We sort of had this conversation yesterday over text, and yes, it is, because it's going to happen as you try and do that. I just don't know if you've got a goalkeeper who's better with his feet and you are going to persist with that style of play. I don't know how many opportunities you're going to get to mess up before they go, right, we're going to switch things up there. But that's the beauty of having essentially two number ones,
yeah.
In that you can get to a point and you go, right, well, it's not working with you because you're messing up too many times in those situations. Yeah, the other guy isn't as good as you as a goalkeeper with the fundamentals of goalkeeping, but he won't mess up with those opportunities. And as soon as that starts outweighing the other, you've got the option to say, right, okay, we're going to mix it up.
Yeah. I would say they're both going to get game time, aren't they, with the cup competitions? Although we're out of one now, sadly. So
I'm going to say not sadly. We've got enough games this season.
We've got enough players, and maybe more.
It's like 60 odd games.
What I will say just about the goalkeeping subject is looking back at that at the Peacock Farrell era, was he didn't really have a lot on when the ball was played to him as well. So the space was very, very condensed, and I think he would have could have got across the face of goal, which wouldn't have been ideal. So those mistakes will happen when a goalkeeper, even Allsop, was put in that position. I think may have happened. But like I said to you guys, it was quite refreshing, Chris Davies' response. It was very much like the Pep Guardiola response when I think it might have been Edison, or I don't know if it might have been defender, where someone made a mistake on the edge of the box, give it away, and somebody scored, and he said, look, it's fine. That's the way we play. These things will happen. They've just got to carry on doing it. And it's just that persistence to do these things, and you'll improve. What was it that Tony Mowbray said about just doing the same things over and over again, and just getting better at them? I can't remember the phrase he used.
I can't remember.
Just basically just persist and improve on what you're doing, and
but it is right, because the more that you do that, you are gonna mess up, but you've got to accept that mistakes are gonna happen, and that you are gonna concede goals. You
just got to make sure you score more than them.
Exactly that, because if we hadn't have won that game, if we would have lost that game, Alfie May hadn't scored and they'd scored, that gets a completely different response on social media. That essentially goes down as the howler that cost us.
It's optics, isn't it?
Yeah. Because we won it, it's not noticed as much as it. But then you play as a team, you win as a team, you lose as a team, especially in the style that we're trying to play. So it's not down to one moment. Yeah. It's down to everything else. And if we were to lose by a goal and that happens, that's not what's cost us. It's elsewhere on the pitch where we should be scoring more goals than the other team. Yeah.
I will say there was a lot of people online again. I say a lot. There was a fair few that were just saying, I just want us to stop fanning around with it on the edge of the box and just clear it up the pitch. That's clearly, and we're going to say it a lot of times during the season, that's clearly not going to happen. That's not the way that Davies wants us to play.
No,
people
and
need
I think
to get used to it.
I think we said earlier in the season as well, knowing when you're under pressure and when to get rid of it. That's, excuse me, a little burp then. Knowing when to get rid of it, when you're under pressure, when you don't want to try and move the ball out of defence. That's the knowledge of playing the game, the awareness around you of your surroundings and what to do. Now, if it's been, I can't imagine that he wants them to play if they know that there's no way out. But equally, he still wants them to play. So it's their mindset, their go-to is going to be to try and play even when under pressure, because otherwise we're just never going to have the ball. So it's one of them, make decisions at the right time. I think when we spoke about it before, it was about Clara, and when he just twatted the ball out of play.
I think that was supposed to be a cross-field ball when he did that. And he did it again yesterday, and Chris Davies absolutely did his nut at him. You could see, Christoph, and he was like, he gets so angry on the sideline, doesn't he, Davies? It's quite, sometimes, very animated.
I'd rather that than someone just sitting there. Like, be part of act as if you're on the team with them, you're on the pitch with them, and you can give them guidance when needed. And when there are reasons to be critical, be critical. It's fine. You're not, like you say, they make mistakes. They get an arm around the shoulder. It's like, forget it. It doesn't matter. If you're not trying to do things the way that they need to be done, then that's where you'll be not criticised, but you'll get a bit of a bollocking. Like, don't do it that way. I get that. I understand it. I don't want to keep going back to it, but the Rooney situation last season, where he was just sat on the bench, just sitting there with his cap on, watching, hiding away from it almost. I don't want that. I want a manager to be involved. Tony Mowbray never sat down, did he?
No, no, he didn't. He was
on that point, actually, it was lovely to see that he's doing well. I don't know if you saw the post that was out. He was sat with Dion Dublin.
Yeah, I did see that.
Nice.
Yeah,
he
looks like he's certainly on the men now, which is good.
It'd be lovely to see him down at St Andrews at some point.
He seems to be doing the rounds of everywhere else, doesn't he? So maybe it's time that he comes. Yeah, he's been at Middlesbrough. He's been at Sunderland. I think that he's obviously maybe Blackburn next. And
is he going to do it in order of management?
Maybe. So final thing on Leyton Orient, I think I got this score prediction right, didn't I? 2-1. So
did you?
You haven't even added that up, have you?
No. Did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So there we go.
I thought you said 3-1.
No, I said 2-1. Definitely said 2-1.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I said 2-1. I'm pretty sure of it.
You're
going to have to go back and check now.
Does mean that Chris is going to have to go and correct the mistake he made on the table. You've already been.
He's got time to do that before it's edited. So there we go. So last night then, which was Tuesday. Today is Wednesday.
Tuesday night against Fulham.
So yeah, Fulham. I thought really good performance.
Yeah, I'm going to get the negative perception of it out the way first. In that, the commentators, I think on Sky, were saying Fulham didn't get out of second gear. Some of the Fulham fans were saying they didn't get out of second gear. They didn't need to. Do you know what? You play what's in front of you, and if they didn't get out of second gear, we used it as a very good workout to improve our passing game and increase our possession game, and at times we played some really nice stuff. We mentioned Paik and Leonard earlier. Again, looked really good. They looked a lot more comfortable at the back, playing the ball out. Yeah, maybe they weren't under as much pressure, but there were improvements. And a League One team going against a Premier League team, and we gave a really good showing of ourselves.
No, I agree. And one of the chaps I work with is a Fulham season ticket holder, so we both watched the game, obviously, and we were actually texting backwards and forwards, and he was genuinely really, really impressed. He said, your team is going to be far too good for League One. He said, but he just thought that for the most part we dominated them and battered them. That was exact words were, if you play like that against League One opposition, you should walk that league. Still on for 136 points, aren't we? But
the thing that we've said a few times is, and it's been mentioned elsewhere as well, we're going to be teams cup final. Mm-hmm. Everyone that comes to us or everyone that we go to, they're going to try and up their game. They're going to raise the levels to play against us because they want to. All the stuff that's gone on, it's like, right, let's go and beat them, or let's go and get something out of it.
Do you think that's why the Wycombe game panned out like it did? Saying earlier that you weren't expecting that style of play.
Leyton Orient.
Yeah. You think that's why it kind of panned out that way?
I don't know if it was them just increasing their levels. I think that it was probably just that us as supporters weren't knowing what to expect, and I'm happy to admit that I don't know what to expect from certain teams in League One. That's why we've got supporters to give us insight into their teams, because it's nice to hear what we're going to expect when we go and play them. Hands up, got it. Like, what we were expecting was completely different to what we got, but it's easy for a Fulham fan with them coming to us, getting an early goal, and then saying, "Oh yeah, you played really well. You're gonna boss that league." When in reality, the whole in for a shock thing, I get, it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be as easy. Teams aren't just going to let you play with the ball, especially when you're 0-0. They're going to be clinging on for dear life. When they're 1-0 down, they're going to be coming back at you to try and get back into it. So, I don't know. But the performance in general last night, I thought, like I mentioned, the way that we were moving the ball around, I thought there were moments of nervousness higher up the pitch where they're hesitant on the ball with in the final third with what to do with it. But elsewhere across the pitch, they were starting to look a lot calmer. They were starting to look comfortable in possession, especially that midfield pairing that's going to make things tick.
Yeah, Lincoln played together really, really well. Again, Laird down the right was a constant nuisance. I thought the same Fulham fan said to me that he was really impressed with him. Obviously, we'll say the goal aside, that Stansfield goal aside, that he was really, really impressed with him, and thought that he was causing them loads and loads of problems, which he was. Well, I mean, there was a handful of opportunities there the Anderson one that was cleared off the line. That was just a really, really good clearance. There's a cracking header. There's a cross across the face there. The cross, along the face of the goal that Hansen just completely missed with an air kick. Didn't even look close to it when it didn't take a nick or anything, which again, had that been pretty much anybody else, probably would have done. All they did have to do is connect with that. And obviously the free kick from Willemsen, who I thought actually looked quite good yesterday, a little bit better than he was on. A lot better than he was on Saturday.
I saw a few people be quite critical of Willemsen, but I thought he had some really nice touches and some nice passes last night.
He moved around a lot. He wasn't just like in that central position. He was out wide a bit, and you saw Keshi come inside, and I think their interplay was quite nice. There was a couple of times when he could have released the ball a little bit quicker. He could have spread the play, and he came back inside and sort of just played the easy ball. But the free kick was a decent free kick. Is very, very unfortunate. Back four, I thought were pretty good for the most part as well. The penalty was a penalty, despite what a lot of people are saying. It's harsh, but it is a penalty.
Let's touch on it. It's
just
probably
made it worse because it was Keith Stroud as well, I think, because a lot of people just hate him.
Right. So, but the rules
included.
say. I can't remember what hang on, I've got it written down. So I can't remember them off the top of my head. Right. For the purposes of determining handball offensive, the upper boundary of the arm is in line with the bottom of the armpit. Not every touch off a player's hand or arm with the ball is an offence.
Mm-hmm.
It's an offence if a player deliberately touches the ball with their hand arm, for example, moving the hand arm towards the ball. That didn't happen. Touches the ball.
Do they use the word deliberate and intentional anymore, though? Is that up to date? Cause...
Yeah, I'm not sure. It could be an old thing, but I'm going to use it anyway. But then the second part says, touches the ball with their hand or arm when it has made their body unnaturally bigger. So I think the first one is like, yeah, you've gone to slap it. The second one is touches the ball with their hand or arm when it has made their body unnaturally bigger. A player considered to have made their body unnaturally bigger when the position of their hand or arm is not a consequence of or justifiable by the player's body movement for that specific situation. By having their hand or arm in such a position, the player takes a risk that their hand or arm being hit by the ball and being penalised.
See, to me, that's... Sorry, go on.
You're going to say that means that it is a penalty?
For me, it's a penalty. It's harsh, and it's maybe you could consider it soft, but for me, that's if it had been the other way round, we'd definitely be asking for a penalty at the other end. And I think that's sometimes the way you've got to step back and have a look at it that way.
Well, we had the Reading one.
There's not a lot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's not a lot he could have done about it. There's actually nothing he could have done about it, unless you're trying to, dive to block a shot with your hands in your invisible pockets, right? Which obviously you can't do. There's not a lot he could have done about it, but for me, it's still a handball. It's very, very unfortunate. But what else do you want your player to do there? Like, he was committed to try and block the shot. It's unfortunate, and it's annoying because it changed the flow of the game. I think because obviously we were on top at that point. Chris Davies did his absolute nut about it. I was actually quite surprised at how his reaction to it about being one of the poorest refereeing decisions he'd ever seen. Maybe it's that whole siege mentality type thing.
Maybe.
I don't know. But
do you know what though? For me, that like whether it is or not regarding the rules, that shouldn't be a penalty.
No, I'm not saying it shouldn't. I agree with that to that point, but as the rule being the rule is now, at the moment that is a penalty, and I don't even like. I think Curtis Davies, who's a defender, was in the studio. Even he said he thought it was a penalty, and I can respect that because obviously he's a player, and as a defender and an ex-Birmingham player, Blues player, then he's tried to remain neutral there as well. So
I watched it back and skipped through it. The handball shout in the second half from Willemson when he crossed it. They didn't show a replay of that, and I don't think they talked about it after the game, did they?
I don't remember them talking about it. I'm trying to actually remember that handball.
It was later on in the second half.
I may have been
putting together a
Barbie Dreamhouse whilst watching it. Yeah. So that might have been when I was doing the slide at that point. So, okay. Yeah. That got quite tricky.
But yeah, there was that handball shout, and Stroud just went no. But like looking back on it, I don't think that they showed it. I don't
blow your whistle posse motherfucker, isn't he? Like he seemed just like loved the sound of his own whistle. And he
loves the attention. So
it's one of those faces as well. Just when he's talking to someone, like even though he's quite short, it just looks like he's looking down at you, like
he's a cunt.
Oh,
I don't care what anyone says. He's a cunt.
Beep.
Not beeping it out. Staying in.
Fair enough. But it was
Dave, don't beep it out.
It was unfortunate. It was unfortunate, but I think for me it's a penalty. But I mean, we'll just talk about it briefly. He was always going to score, wasn't he?
Yeah, and do you know what? We saw him last season a few times break away from defences, didn't we? Mm. And at that point, he's pretty much uncatchable, and 90% that he's going to put the ball in the net. I thought, I said to you, maybe Allsop's, he sort of ran out to begin with and then sort of backpedaled and maybe wasn't in the best of positions. But it was a lovely finish.
It was a great finish. I mean, I agree with the Allsop thing. I wasn't 100% like he was caught in two minds there, which I don't think helped. And the Clara's obviously we've established Clara's not very, very quick, so he tried to cut down the angle, but again with little success.
He'd recovered and then got in front of him.
Yeah, and then
around him.
My problem was that I think a few people touched on it as well online.
Ethan Laird.
What was he doing? Because we know why he was so high, and obviously, I think there was a moment when before they played that ball where he stepped up. So whether or not they were trying to catch him offside, I don't know.
Didn't look like an offside trap though.
We were very, very, very high, weren't we? So I mean that's going to be. We've said this 100 times already. That's going to be an Achilles heel for us. And the difference between obviously Jay Stansfield and Fulham is they're a Premier League team. Okay, he's still yet to break out in the Premier League. So we're going to get punished by a Premier League team more easily than we will.
You might get away with it in League One.
In League One, you can get away with it. But yeah, I wasn't quite sure what Laird was doing. And even when he did switch on...
It just looked like he forgot to hand him off, though. Like the communication wasn't quite there at that point.
But there was, I don't want to shit on him, but there was an element of just like, why isn't he running back? He'd almost just sort of jogged sideways and was almost like just watching it. And I'm not quite sure why that was. I saw people saying he has a low football IQ, but I don't think that's true because I don't think that's true, but I'm just a little bit confused at what was going on in his head at that point. Maybe you thought Clara was going to get to him, but even still, why aren't you breaking your neck to
you
get
still
back?
go back and
And the Allsop thing was quite confusing because when I looked at it, I was just like, "What are you doing?" And then I just thought, "This is inevitable," and it was. So. But it was,
Generally, overall, I think it was a very good performance, and we can take a lot of positives out of it.
100%.
In all of the way that we played, and
because we go down to League One now on Saturday where the opposition aren't as good and the goals are bigger and we're back to scoring.
The goalkeepers are smaller.
and the players aren't as quick. But multiple I hope that there was multiple chances yesterday. I thought we probably could have done well in the final third. It didn't quite work. Just on a side note, thought Ayuma was really good when he came on. Seemed to make a bit of an impact. He does feel like he's the last 25 minutes sort of guy.
Is that what we're calling him now?
I don't know. Yoko. Oh no. I don't know. Ayuma is his name. I guess that's on the back of his shirt. So
I'm just going to go Yokoyama.
Maybe after Friday we just call him the Japanese guy because maybe Miyoshi might not be here. Who knows? But I thought he was really good. Created a few chances or half chances and gave their fullback something to think about a little bit. He's so quick, which we obviously mentioned before as well. So I'm keen to see him start actually, but I just wonder whether he's still fairly raw and obviously language barrier, etc., etc. They might not start him yet, but at some point he's got to start. So
did you see when he and Miyoshi went on, and he actually ran on by mistake when it was supposed to be Miyoshi? That they'd put the number up, he ran on, and then had to go back off.
I didn't see that.
Koji Miyoshi was like, "Yeah, me."
Yeah, I did not see that. So yeah, he's got a little bit to learn. Yeah, then maybe if he's on from the start, then he doesn't have to worry about that, does he?
Unless he's got to go off.
He can't get that wrong. So someone will tell him. But no, good performance. It's a shame we didn't score because that would have been. If we'd scored, I think we might have even scored two. Because you feel like you would have put a little bit of pressure on them. But it's getting that first goal, isn't it? But no, all in all. Yeah, can't really complain. It's disappointing to lose, but good performance. So on to transfer news, rumours. trying to think who had signed that. There's been so many, it's hard to keep track of them sometimes. So last time out, we hadn't signed Taylor Gardner Hickman, had we? So
we don't think we did.
We don't think we did. I can't remember talking about him. Ben Davies obviously in now, and then Lyndon Dykes today. Understand Scott Wright's mid-medical, so that'll probably be announced at some point in the next 24 hours.
Well, you say that, but I was looking on Twitter today, and there were people saying that has he failed medicals elsewhere or something? And ended up not leaving before.
I'm not 100% sure if he's
some Rangers fans that were less than complimentary about him. Yes,
I've seen that on Scott Wright, and I remember him playing pretty well for Aberdeen for a while. But I'll confess, apart from that Rangers game against us, where he was actually very good when he came on, I haven't really seen much of him. But yeah, they are less than complimentary. But he's very versatile. We're going backwards here, but he's a very versatile player. He can play on the right, can play through the middle, can play on the left. I think we know that Chris Davies likes versatility in those types of players. You would know him from his time at Celtic as well.
I was going to say, under the impression that it's Chris Davies is quite fond of him,
as opposed to a recruitment team or yeah. It's a strange one because it was kind of sort of came from nowhere, didn't it? It was, I think a lot of people's assumptions was, is he replacing Miyoshi? Because there's been rumours about Miyoshi maybe going. Again, we know that we think he's got a release clause, so if someone triggers that and he wants to go, he potentially could. Although he came on last night, so that would say that nothing is imminent or in the pipeline. The likelihood is that Dembele is going to go. So I think we've spoken about Blackburn before. There's been interest. I think Swansea are now interested as well. So, I mean, for me, Dembele still has a lot to offer in the Championship. So I think there will be teams that are interested in him. In the right setup, he'll be fairly dangerous, as he proved for the early part of last season for us. So
I think
not
that's it.
In
the right setup and something that suits him, and something that he wants to play in.
So you got someone that's going to cover his backside for him. So no,
let him do the flair stuff.
Yeah, I mean, shame to see him go, but it looks like it's going to happen. Bakuna, Wader looks like it's back on, but then I've today saw that Hanover are trying to hijack a deal for him, which, I think he was on the plane with one of the Alveda scarf or something because he was boarding the plane the other day. So I think they might have to fly him back out. You say the money in Saudi Arabia is probably going to be a little bit more than what Hanover are offering, or you'd expect. So
the longest transfer saga of the summer.
Well, they had financial issues. Apparently, there was some financial hoops they had to jump through over there before they could sign players again, and that was the issue. So I'd imagine he's getting much more money over there. So that's likely to be the place he ends up. But we'll see what happens. But on to players we have signed. So Gardner Hickman, obviously someone that we'd looked at, was it last season or the season before? Would there have been interest?
When he joined Bristol City,
last season.
Was it the start of last season?
So last season, but so we know technically he's a very good midfielder. Obviously quite a physical presence, box to box, can play in multiple positions, very versatile. I think he's something that we've been trying to do with everyone that we've recruited, that they can play. Yeah, I think this is a low key, really, really good signing. I think he'll offer us quite a lot more physical presence in midfield as well. Lots of energy,
and you've got to have a Gardner in the squad.
Yeah, I mean it's been the case for like 12 years now or something ridiculous like that probably. So we need to have a Gardner of some description in there. A family member that knows him pretty well from his time at West Brom as well, and he couldn't speak more highly of him. So I think we've got a really, really good character.
Just to jump in very quickly, going back to Bakuna, he has actually gone 2 minutes ago.
Is that
Al
official now? Al Wader, so he has gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, we know he had a release clause as well, didn't he? So I think from memory, but it's funny that this person that did the Hanover hijack story was Wayne Vasey, who has come up with all sorts of bullshit when it's come to Blues related news. Actually, he might be a candidate for Cornellas, so keep that one in your back pocket, because he does speak a lot of shit, and I've noticed.
Are we going to have should we have a double?
Go on then.
Aye, send him to Cornellas.
He has put out a lot of, just on a tangent, he has put out a lot of articles over the Blues this summer, including, I think, Steve Bruce being interested in the Blues job, and we'd offered it to Alex Neil, and there's a load of player related stuff as well. So footy insider Wayne Vasey speaks absolute nonsense. Enjoy your time in Cornellas. Clearly Hanover had very little chance of hijacking that move, so you just made that up. Where were we?
I thought when you said that, I thought that you were like, that was authority.
Well, there we go. Looks like we've done it now. So, but I did have another idea, but we maybe send two people, but or maybe not. Back on Gardner Hickman. Obviously, they mentioned about the option to buy in there, but if you listen to the way he speaks in the interview, and then he did that Q&A whilst he was playing pool, very badly, by the way, if anyone's seen that, it's evident that this option to buy is probably an obligation, because he talks not only about, because normally the way a lone player would speak was like, I want to come here, do my best, and then see what happens. He's very much like, come here, get the club back to where they belong, hopefully play in the Premier League, and there's no he didn't defer from that sort of line of thinking. And his goodbye, he did a goodbye message to Bristol City, which was very definitive as well, to say, thanks for your time, the fans were great for me, etc., etc. I'm like, well,
similar with Samsted as well.
Yeah, I think we found out that Samsted was, I missed that, but Samsted is an obligation as long as we don't get relegated, apparently. So you'd have to make the assumption that that's probably not going to happen. So,
well, that was what a journo said, that was it was if we don't get relegated.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if it's like if we don't get promoted.
Yeah, that might be the case.
Rather than that, and maybe similar with this, but assumptions that we're likely to get promoted. We hope. Don't want to get carried away again. 136 points, but hopefully.
Pleased with Hickman though. I think that he's again an ideal player profile that they're sort of looking for. He's young, he can grow with the club, and he gives us a bit more of that physicality in the middle, lots of energy. Technically, has a good shot on him as well, actually. So he scored a few long ranges in his time. Yeah,
really good one for Bristol City as well, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. No, he's I'm quite pleased with that one. Ben Davies was one that sort of appeared in a Scottish newspaper and then happened very, very quickly. I think at the time he had quite a few clubs after him. He was supposed to be a big earner at Rangers, so I think they've obviously been keen to get him out. I spoke to a couple of Rangers fans that I play football with on a Friday night, and they were less than complimentary about him. But if you speak to Sheffield United fans or Preston fans about him, they're very, very complimentary. Good defender, plays out from the back comfortably. Sounds like the sort of person that would be left-footed, obviously, which I think is key for our balance. Can fill in at left back if needed as well, which again, pretty important. Surprising one, actually. I think he's probably better than League One, in my own personal opinion.
Yeah, but then I think that you've when you've been away from the Championship for a little while, that because I don't know how I haven't even looked into it. I don't know how many games he's played up in Scotland, but he got a lot of stick. And it's one of them, when you're not playing, when you're out of the game, you've got to then settle down, get your feet back on the ground a little bit. It's a difficult, yes, he has been a good player. Is he still a good player now? And that's, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but he was a good player, let's hope that we have got a good player still. One thing that I found quite funny, that there were Rangers fans when the Scott Wright thing was breaking, and they said, let's put it this way, you'd be better playing Scott Wright at centre half than you would Ben Davies.
I hadn't seen that one. I did see some Rangers fans saying they were thanking us and saying they didn't want to hear any bad words spoken about their Farmers League if Scott Wright and Ben Davies come down here and rip it up, or something along those lines. But I'll see what the Rangers fans have to say about Scott Wright on Friday when I'm playing football with those guys.
So Sheffield United on loan from Liverpool. He played 23 games. Rangers, since 2022, he played 36 games. So not an awful lot of games, an awful lot of game time in that time. So he was a very good player. That's obviously what got him the move to Liverpool. They're not going to go and sign. Yeah, granted, didn't play. Yeah. But they're not going to just go and waste money on someone. No. They've seen something in there. We saw it in the league. So
he's obviously played through the tiers as well in the Football League, so he knows what it's all about. He did have that weird transfer to Liverpool when they had an injury crisis and never actually played for them, which was, it probably helped his bank balance and probably secured his family financially for the rest of his career, probably. So fair play to him. But again, there's something there that makes them go for him. Yeah, it's like they didn't come for any of our players. No, we're in turmoil. I'm not shocked about that, to be perfectly honest.
Neither am I. But like, if you're going to go out and sign someone just for the sake of it, like, why not go for someone that's gonna join you, like that you can get a bargain from, if you're not going to play them anyway. So there's something there that they've seen that they've gone, well, if we need to, that will do.
What I'm quite surprised at is that we went for someone so established. So we've obviously got Sanderson, who's suffering from his foot injury, Clara, Bielik and Davies. So we have got 4 very, very good centre-backs, despite what other people may think. We've got 4 very, very good centre-backs for League One. Arguably all Championship centre-backs. I know that's the sort of squad we're trying to build. But it's just, we're so strong in those central defensive positions. I was just very shocked we went for someone that was, has a sort of record that he's got. But the good thing is, obviously, he's very, very he's acclimatised to playing out from the back. He's good on the ball. He's a progressive defender, and that's exactly the sorts of players that Chris Davies wants. So, another good signing.
But again, not very quick.
Not very quick, but, I think when he does play, he'll be one of those that I think will end up playing more than we think. So a lot of people say, it's good backup. I think once he's one of those ones that might get in the team and it might be difficult to oust, actually, once he's in there.
Right. So on that point...
Go on.
Lyndon Dykes announced just today, shortly before we started recording, today, Wednesday. We really need to stop referring to
international sign language for Wednesday? Today, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It's one hand. I saw this little finger rabbit running across the screen. What is that? Apologies for those that are just listening on Spotify or iTunes or whatever.
Just jump in with the fact there is probably formal sign language for days of the week, but you make up what you want to, Chris.
Yeah. Okay. So Wednesday. Just Lyndon Dykes just
Monday.
Joined.
Lyndon Dykes
just joined.
Alienating all of our deaf listeners.
I mean, we're not, are we? This Wednesday. Podcast title, Wednesday. So, Lyndon Dykes has just joined. Alfie May, off to a good start already, scoring goals. Supporters very impressed with him. I imagine that the gaffer's very impressed with him. Mm-hmm. We've now brought in another striker who I can't imagine is just joining to sit on the bench.
Well, he's played quite a lot for QPR recently. He was one of their top earners. You know, he's not just going to drop down this league to play second fiddle to Alfie May, is he?
But equally, he's not going to get guaranteed game time because we know that that's not in the remit for.
And we don't play.
We
don't play two up top. Although maybe they might try playing, because Lyndon Dykes is supposed to be quite useful in behind the main striker as well. From a few bits that I'd read, and I think Clive, who we may or may not get something on from Lofferware's QPR writer.
Should we say if we do, it's here now?
Yeah.
Thanks, Clive.
And if not, then it hasn't made it in time, and maybe we'll play it at a later date. We've been crying out for another striker for a while. We said someone with a physical presence that's mobile, that can hold the ball up, a younger Duke if you wish, but more mobile, someone that can bring other people into play, someone that's got the energy and the work rate that can continue to press, which is what he can and will do. I think Mark Warburton referred to him as like a workhorse, someone that will work really, really hard for you. So even if he doesn't score, he'll still contribute in a way that is going to be effective for our team.
Take a workhorse over a cart horse.
Yeah, well, hopefully you're not referring to Duke when you're saying cart horse.
No. Just no, I wasn't.
Never know
mate,
you, Chris.
I love,
quite
you know I love
when
Duke.
you want to be, you know. So.
You know I love Duke. And no, I just mean in general.
No. I know what you're saying, but I think we've seen a lot of people on socials be quite down on the signing for Lyndon Dykes. So I'm not impressed. He's not a goal scorer. His stats leave a lot to be desired. It doesn't have to be a goal scorer. It's about having something different up there. It's about having a physical presence. It's about bringing other players into play, giving the opposition something else to think about.
I've seen his hold-up play is very good, apparently.
He's never been a prolific goal scorer apart from playing maybe in Australia in whatever league it was in for whatever team it was. I'm not going to go back and look at it, but it was some ridiculous name. Looks like it was made up on Pro Evolution or something. But he's obviously like I can't remember. Dave can have a look on for who Lyndon Dykes played for in Australia and tell us. For me, it's like a strange name, but it's important that we got a different profile of striker into the squad. And there's no saying that we know we don't play two up top, but there's no saying that we're in those types of games when actually we are struggling to break a team down. We need to play two up top. Alfie May and Dykes can play together and be fairly effective. You don't say like the big man, little man thing, because it's kind of an archaic way of looking at it, and I'm sure Chris Davies doesn't see it like that either. But from a technical point of view, they should be able to play pretty effectively together.
And we don't play with two up top. That's not saying that we won't play with two up top. It's like we are able, and I believe that we've got a manager now who's very capable of finding different ways to play.
Yeah.
He's a very intelligent guy. I mean, already after the last couple of games, or the Fulham game certainly last night, people were saying he's a genius in the way that he's. Like I saw a few people like praising him very highly in what he can do, what he's got the squad to do in such a short space of time. People saying that I've not seen Blues play like this since I started watching in the 80s or the 70s or whatever. So I'm very convinced that he could go, right, okay, this isn't working, we can switch it up and we can play a different way. And he's probably not going to be afraid to do that.
Right, coming on quickly to those clubs, had a quick look, and there's some fantastic named teams. There's some words that I can't say, some words that I'll attempt to say. Mudgear Arab, Mudgear
Mudgearaba,
Merrimack, then back up to Scotland, obviously coming to the south. Redlands United, Gold City Coast, but the best one is the Surfers Paradise Apollo.
See what I mean? That is a made-up name from Pro Evolution.
I mean, that's incredible. Why don't we have teams like that in League One?
That sounds like a band name.
It does actually. In fact, if you put it onto Spotify, they might actually bring somebody.
Semi-professional soccer club based in Surfers. Hang on, the actual town is called Surfers Paradise in Queensland.
Isn't there a lot of Surfers Paradises in?
This is how ridiculous Australia is.
So yeah, I mean, despite the names, the fact remains he hasn't really scored a lot of goals outside of Australia. But I think people need to look beyond the top line stat level and have a look at what else he brings to the team.
I've got an idea.
He scored 17 for Surfers Paradise Apollo.
I've got an idea. Yeah, that's what he said. Outside of Australia, I've got an idea though. Our owners apparently wanted to play Wrexham in America. How about we just move to Australia? Lyndon Dykes scored goals in Australia. Let's go and play there.
I mean, we could do that, couldn't we? I don't think it's going to happen though, Chris.
Oh, all right.
You dag.
It's a good. I thought it was a decent shout, to be fair.
I think it was rubbish.
Fair enough.
Would we be playing home and away in Australia?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll just. Yeah. Oh fuck!
Fuck's sake, man! That was wasted.
Hang on.
Ay, send him to Cornellas.
That's you going for that terrible joke.
I don't know. I think you have to go there as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll go for not getting it. Moving on.
So where are we? Yeah. So the Dykes signing, really good. Really happy with that. It takes the pressure off Alfie May a little bit, and also almost adds a little bit of pressure to him that he needs to continue to keep up his. I don't think he's the sort of character that is going to let energy levels and work rate drop anyway, because I think we've seen the way he can play. But having to play like that for almost 90 minutes in 40 odd games a season is going to be pretty difficult. So we can now mix it up. We've got someone that can add a bit of energy. He's not the quickest, but he's no slouch. We've got someone that's going to be able to sort of maybe like run channels and ultimately sort of press, hold the ball up when we do win it. I think it's a really good addition. And I disagree with most people. I can understand people being a little bit let down because they probably think there was going to be Jay Stansfield or someone that's going to be some marquee signing. I can sort of get that, but at the same time, like, let's just have a bit of trust and faith in the recruitment team and what they're doing. And it's also very difficult to sign this sort of player. Like, everyone now is going for the smaller, diminutive type, messy type strikers. I don't think there's a lot of more old-fashioned, if you want, type strikers in circulation now. That sounds terrible. There obviously is, but I think they're harder to find and pin. And when you do get hold of them, they can be probably quite pricey. Does that make sense? Do you know where I'm coming from?
Yeah, no, it does. It does. And I think the other thing to it as well is that people are disappointed and, oh, fucking hell, can you, like, it's not the signing that we were expecting.
We only scored 6 goals for QPR.
Yeah.
A terrible QPR team at that point, by the way.
But as we said, we need someone to come in who we're trying to sign players that are championship ready, essentially. Yeah. So we go up, they can still play a part. They might not be the main focal point. We might improve on them, but they can be involved. Alfie May, I think, can probably make that step up. Mm-hmm. He can be useful up there. From what I've seen of him, I don't see why he couldn't. Dykes clearly can, because he's been playing there. Sign someone else to come into this team that's not going to be a waste of money and just be one season. We get promoted and you have to move them on. I think that's a difficult thing in itself. You're convincing someone to come in. They're happy to make the drop down to League One and they're championship level. That's a very difficult thing to do. Other people have been saying, right, get a loanee and then a young loanee. We've said before, teams don't want to loan their players if they're not guaranteed game time.
Just no space in the squad for him. I say no space in the squad, but there's just I've got a lot of good players that aren't making the bench. What I would say about Lyndon Dykes is I saw a lot of people saying, I think when we get promoted, we'll just bin him off. I mean, we've given him a 3-year deal, and yet he may move on at some point. But, this is probably Duke's swan song. He wants to go. He want to go up with us, and then maybe move on. There's nothing saying that when we go up, we've got Alfie May, who you just said can hopefully play in the Championship. Lyndon Dykes can play in the Championship, not prolific, but there's nothing to say that we aren't going to go out and spend on a striker in the Championship, and then we'll have a nice rotation of 3 strikers. Look a little bit further ahead, but he's he's 28, isn't he? I think Dykes. It's not old in striker terms, really. It's a 3-year contract, so I think people just need to get behind him, and I'm sure they will do. And I think he'll surprise a few people. I think he will score goals in League One, and I think he'll pop up with some pretty important performances as well along the way. And that's ultimately what we need. Yeah,
I think it'll be more about what he can offer the team than what he offers us in terms of goals.
Yeah,
and I think
100%.
that having someone that can bring other people, when you've got the good players around him, having that type of player, like Alfie May's great, but having that player that can rough it a little bit and bring others into play, I think will be very useful.
Okay, it's that time of the week again, Chris.
Oh, around the league.
What have you got then, Chewy?
So, Scratcher obviously had a very busy week, as you guys know. So scratching around for something was quite difficult. I don't know if you've noticed, saw there's a video shared of the Wycombe-Rotherham game at the weekend when Wycombe got their first points this season, and Rotherham, who signed all those great players in the summer, ahead of everybody else.
The ones that everyone was jealous about.
Yeah, all absolutely gutted that they bought all those fantastic players and still haven't won a game yet. Steve Evans, for the second week running, I think this week he did shake the opposition manager's hand, Matt Bloomfield's hand. It is Matt Bloomfield, isn't it? Yeah, shook his hand, but then he turned around and he started mouthing off and giving it all this and giving it all that for the second week in a row, just looking like an absolute sore loser, just getting angrier and angrier, like a Ribena berry ready to explode.
On that point, then we should probably just
send him to Cornellas.
It's a bit busy Cornea this week.
Another one to Cornea.
You, me, Steve Evans.
He's just such a sore loser, and he actually, I think he was in an article a couple of days ago just saying how they've had a really, really poor start to season, and it's not something he's used to. He better get used to it, I think, and stop being a bit of a dick.
Yeah. Can I hijack your around the league and just throw in that the Exeter game has now been cancelled as well? Or not cancelled, postponed due to international call-ups.
Yeah, so that's obviously Peacock, Farrell, Dykes, Samsted, Williamson. I don't think Pake's in there yet. I think Luke Harris is probably, lots of kids in my house at the moment. Luke Harris will be under 21
right,
Wales, so we're going to have a good probably 5-6 players that are going to be out. Oh my God.
It's fine, mate. It's fine. We're nearly done. We're nearly done. Right, shall we have a quick look at Wigan this weekend then? We've got Dan Stacey from talkingwigan.com who's going to give us a little insight into what we can expect a little bit from Wigan.
Hi guys, it's Dan from talkingwigan.com. So to sum up the start to Wigan season so far, I'd say it's definitely mixed. We've had a tough start results-wise, obviously just picking up 3 points from 3 games. The opening day of the season in Charlton went really well. We put in a strong performance, but they took the only chance that they created. We missed all of ours. That tends to be the way. Reading was an awful performance and an awful result, but then we bounced back with a pretty poor performance against Crawley, but the 3 points, so mixed bag probably sums up our season, to be fair. I'd say the aim for Latics this season is to stay up comfortably. I know playoffs have been mentioned, but with our young squad, financial cutbacks and all that kind of thing, it's going to be tough to achieve, especially with the likes of yourselves and everyone else in the division. So yeah, the aim is just to get ourselves sorted off the pitch and hopefully build the foundations for a good season on it next year. I think Blues, or Birmingham, I call them Blues because I'm from the Black Country myself, so it's the way I'd say it, but Blues need to watch out for our counter-attacking ability. Our record against the top 6 teams, which obviously is where I'm expecting Birmingham to be this year, last season was very good. I think, well, we obviously beat Bolton home and away, which we might like to mention a little bit. Beat Peterborough home and away as well, did very well against Portsmouth, and there's another one, Derby as well. So counter-attacking wise, we've got some quick wingers. I know you'll like to have the ball. We do kind of like to have the ball, but I can't see it happening. So watch out for us on the break, because we can actually cause damage. We haven't necessarily shown it yet, but I really do believe we can. I think, sorry that the background keeps changing another way, I'm trying to escape cars. The player that Blues sort of have that worries me the most, aside from Alfie May, who is just the obvious answer, is Mark Leonard. He's a player that I absolutely loved at Northampton last year. He ran the show home and away against us. We were actually quite lucky to take 4 points from those games, and he was unlucky to not win either of them on his own, in fairness. And he's a wonderful player. So him, Sriki Dembele, I've seen you sign Lyndon Dykes, which is just a joke. Your super team is just, yeah. This League One super team that you're building is outrageous, and I'm very scared of it. So just the whole team, in fairness, I'm worried about. And in terms of a prediction, I know the last time we came to St Andrews, we had a hilarious 1-0 win with 10 men, and you looked like, even though you had the man advantage, you couldn't score. Well, if that game was still going on, it would probably still be 1-0 to Wigan. So I'm going to go for a similarly funny, hopefully not quite as one-sided, 1-0 win for the Ticks.
Okay, thanks for that, Dan. That was Dan Stacey from TalkingWigan.com. Hopefully his prediction's wrong, and that they don't shit house a 1-0 away win. I mean, I'd like to think that we've improved a lot from when we last played them, so we should be all right. I think the counter attack is obviously a concern that we've been fully aware of this season, that we've pointed out numerous times, is that where we'll probably concede our most goals. I like the fact that he called us a League One super team. Yet to show it, but it's a work in progress.
That's the podcast title there. League One super team. No,
work
League
in
One
progress. Oh, we'll go with that one then. I mean, I don't know what to expect now from teams at the moment. It's not like I'm watching Blues, and then I'm not watching the highlight shows. I'm not seeing enough of different teams. I really should be doing some more research. I made a conscious
effort to watch more of the EFL show actually on Saturday last week, just to see what we were up against. And it looks like it's very hard to tell early on in the season, isn't there? Because some teams are still finding their feet. I think it looks like Stockport are under the same momentum that got them promoted from League Two. They look like they're playing some really good football. But yeah. Wigan, Sean Maloney,
manager as well.
Yeah, Wigan, Sean Maloney really. Obviously, he mentioned it there that they want to try and dominate the ball. I think they'll probably struggle to do that against us, and as you say, probably counter-attack. I had a quick look at that squad. I don't know a lot about them, a bit like yourself, but you feel that we should have too much for them at home. It looks like they created quite a few chances against Charlton but couldn't score, which Charlton, I think, have won every game without conceding a goal in the league this season. So...
and he said that they played well against Charlton, and then threw it away.
The general consensus is a lot of teams have played pretty well against Charlton but haven't managed to score against them, so they're obviously doing something right at the back, Charlton are. But on to Wigan, I mean...
Ben from Blues Breakdown sent me a little summary. He said, Wigan 4-2-3-1 setup, not super possession heavy, averaging 49% this season so far, struggling to create chances, just 0.8 XG per game, second lowest in the league, 22 shots, second lowest in the league, only scored once, defensively better, conceded just 3, quite passive, third highest PPDA. So don't press much and averaging just 3.7 high turnovers. Yeah, gibberish to me sometimes as well, especially when just reading it. Conversely, they've been turned over the 6th highest in the league, one of the youngest squads in the league, lack experience. Think they'll struggle to better last season's 12th place finish. Would have finished 10th without an 8-point deduction. Feels like a game where we could probably get at them and properly dominate. So let's get some predictions then. But before we do ours, let's get Dan Ivory, Almagier.
Hi, Dan here, Almagier, with my prediction for Blues versus Wigan. Blues to win 3-1. Alfie May's going to get at least one goal, maybe a couple. Expecting another 3 points and another 3 goals on the way to 100 points, 100 goals.
Thanks for that, Dan. 3-1 Blues, Alfie May. I was so last week I was really surprised that Ian Danter went for Yakayama to score, but he got the result spot on. Do you know who didn't get the result spot on? You didn't.
I said 2-1.
You said 3-1 Luke Harris.
I'm sure I said 2-1.
Well, you must have changed it later because you said 3-1 Luke Harris.
I'm sure I said 2-1.
You said 3.
3-1 Blues and Luke Harris.
Okay, so
there
maybe I
you
did
go.
get it wrong then.
What I'd say on
I was convinced that it's 2-1.
is you can't authenticate anything nowadays. That just could be AI.
No, that was legit. Anyway, so Ian Danter tops our guest table at the moment. Chewy, we are all level. Me, you and Dave are level on points. I got my Alfie May bonus point. We all got the result right. Neither of your scorers scored. If I'd have gone for Keshi Anderson last week, I'd have been all right. But I didn't. But now, because I used my Alfie May card last week, I can't use it this week. So, what are you guys saying? Chewy?
I'd like us to have a clean sheet this week. I think I might go based on what Ben's given us there, which is a little bit more statistical based. Maybe that sounds like they don't create that many chances. They don't press much from as well, which could play into our hands a little better around the back. So I will go with a clean sheet. I'm going to say 2-0 to Blues. And goal scorer. Am I allowed Alfie May or not?
You can go back to Alfie May now because you didn't have him last week. Yeah.
I will also go with Alfie May then.
Okay, Vegan.
Well, I was going to go 2-0, but now I'm not going to. But I am going to play the Alfie May card. 1-0.
I think we should actually get some Alfie May cards as well, so that we can just show them on screen as we do them. I'm playing the Alfie May card. So what did you say then?
1-0. Was going to go for 2-0, but
1-0. 1-0 Alfie May. So
for
a
the
tight
sake
one.
of a different prediction.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go 4-0.
Standard.
And yeah, standard. Yeah. And I'm going to go Willemsen to score. No, just one. I mean,
he did.
We only have to.
He did enter my head actually when I was thinking about it because I was a little bit more impressed with him. Quick on
not the shot that goes like
not that one that's still travelling, and I think it's just hit Chris Waddle's penalty from the 1990 World Cup as well,
and ricocheted off and hit. What's his name? Clement that played for us. Stephen Clements. Yeah, his penalty at Blackpool.
So there we go. There's 3 balls floating in space somewhere,
ricocheting around.
Any changes to the team? What would you do? Because obviously you've gone for Willemsen, so I'm assuming you would start him ahead of Harris.
I think.
I'm assuming.
Well, no, I'm going for him to score. So not necessarily that he'll be starting, but I start him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me he did enough last night. Sorry, against Fulham on Tuesday to get his place.
I probably in the same headspace. I'd probably start him as well on Saturday. I think everything else remains the same. I'd consider starting Ayuma at left wing. I think, and that's the only thing I'd change. I think everything else I'd just remain. I've had Peacock foul back in goal, but other than that, I don't think I'd change very much.
Yeah, I don't. For me,
new signings you'd not expect to start.
No, I don't think Yokoyama's ready for it yet. So
I don't either. But I'm just getting a little bit frustrated at Hansen not doing an awful lot. It's just tidy. He looks after the ball well, but he doesn't. We need a threat down the left-hand side.
Big game for him on Saturday. Big game for him.
For me, yeah. I mean, if he does start, I hope he goes out there and scores a hat-trick. And like, 'cause I'm not saying this is him
waves the wanker sign in your
at me.
face.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Like, I think there's something there. Obviously, he's statistically, like, if you look at him, he's obviously been a goal threat, assists in the past. There's something there. I don't know if it's the system or what at the moment, but something isn't quite. It's not for me. It's just not working out. We need more. We need more down that left hand side. So yeah, hopefully he does go out there, score goals. I'm not ruling out or not like papping him off or anything along those lines. I'm saying he's rubbish. Just need to see more from him. So, but I would like to see a Yuma start. And I agree. I know where you're coming from. He's a bit more of an impact player at the moment. I think he's still fairly raw, and it might be too early. But I need something down that left hand side.
Hansen will give it you this weekend. Right. We're all off to kids' parties. No, we're not off to kids' parties. You're off to a kids' party. I'm off to pick my daughter up from nursery. Dave's off to see Pete Doherty. Enjoy the game at the weekend. And until next time, keep right on.
Keep right on.
Keep right on.